Thank you so much for choosing to spend your time with me because I know there's so many different options. So I'm really honored that you're choosing to be in this environment with me. That being said, I'll kind of get right into it. You guys all have a postcard on you that looks like this. I would say that the thing that makes this studio special is that it's a fusion of a lot of different practices. And Nolini Kids is the nonprofit business I started, which is kind of, I guess, the kids' adapted version of this fitness class and a wellness curriculum that I'll go into a little bit more later. But I would say that the roots of these two businesses revolve around a philosophy of health that I hold very close to my heart that I'm going to go over today. And it's, I guess, a twist on a mind-body connection. I think all of us think of a mind-body connection in our own unique way. So I'm going to share with you kind of, I guess, the lens in which I look at it. That leads to a heart connection. That leads to a world connection. And the idea is that movement of mind and body will lead to movement in heart and movement in the world. But kind of before I get to that big little thing, I want to go over who Nalini is. Nalini is my mom, and my mom is 72. She is technically overweight, loves fried food, wants to eat ice cream every single day, but she is by far the healthiest person I've ever met. And I think it's the sparkle in her eye, the kick in her step. She has a youthful resilience and a calm about her that I just feel really lucky that I had a mom like that growing up. But it's kind of begged the question for me, especially being in the world of fitness, like what makes a person healthy? You know, is it their friends? Is it their diet? Is it their exercise? Is it their attitude? And I've been teaching now for 15 years, and I'm always surrounded by people who talk about, like, oh, I'm fat, I want to lose weight. Did I lose weight? How did you lose weight? And so it's made me kind of come to the conclusion that most of us determine health on a kind of a broad level through the word weight. And so I was inspired to look it up in the dictionary. And the dictionary definition of weight is a body's relative mass or the quantity of matter contained by it, the heaviness of a person or thing. And I just find this definition really, really intriguing. And the reason I find it intriguing is because this guy over here, the other half of Nalini, he deserves a shout out. He didn't get a method named after him, but my dad, in a nutshell, came to this country with $8, grew up in a jungle, and became a lawyer in America. And in that journey, he's grown to have a real appreciation for the power of interpretation, the English language, the dictionary. So he forced me as a child to read the dictionary. I hated it, and now I have a slide on it, so it just goes to show full circle. I think he knew what he was talking about. And as a result, that's why I find the word weight interesting. So as hopefully you remember 2 seconds ago, it says the heaviness of a person or thing. What I find interesting is that our society's interpretation of it is that it's pounds and scales. And what I seem to experience, which I'm hoping that you guys experience as well, is that you've probably met thin people that seem overweight to you, that they're weighed down by their emotions. And then you could meet someone that's maybe a little bit heavier, that has their kick in their step and is just exudes a vibrancy. And even though we might not articulate that, I think that we should. And I think it's something that we visually experience. So I think that if we judge health by weight, that weight should be kind of divvied off into physical weight and emotional weight. And that's kind of the premise of my philosophy here. An emotional weight, this is my, I guess, definition of it. A spirit's relative mass or the quantity of matter, the weight of words contained by it, giving rise to a downward or upward force, the heaviness of a person or thing. So the idea is that I think that anything that's tangible is somewhat manageable. And so as a society, I think that we have these tangible tools associated to physical weight. We have like a BMI, we have calories, we have diets, we have food plans. Like these are all tangible things, and we visually can see our physical weight. But I don't think we have a common place that we can go to for emotional weight. Unless you're like lying down horizontal in the therapist chair and they're giving you tools constantly. Like, it's just not part of common dialogue to talk about emotional weight. So I guess I want to propose this as a measurement, the weight of words. So the idea that is, we think about the food we digest into our body, but maybe we could think about the words we digest into our body as actually having weight. So here's a little bit of a thinner person exposed to heavier weights, like if you wake up every morning and you say, I'm stupid, I have a lot of doubt, that's going to weigh you down. And just like maybe a heavier person might wake up and be surrounded by words that drive them and lift them up, to me, they're kind of weighing the same. And so I think that our definition of weight needs to be reevaluated. And I guess that's the premise of Nalini Kids, is kind of teaching this 360-degree evaluation of wellness. The idea that we need to give a physical workout as well as an emotional workout for kids to then lead a more balanced, healthier future. The way I present it to the principals, because I guess the thing that I've been really proud of with Nalini Kids is that it's a program that's taught to the kids during the school day. It's not an after-school program. It's not a before-school program. And I think that's been the result of me having these meaningful conversations with some principals. And the way I share it with them is that if a student comes into your classroom, you obviously want them to learn and then graduate. And the thing that would stop a student from learning is excess physical energy or excess emotional energy. So maybe they feel like they're too heavy to sit in a chair comfortably, or maybe they are just jittery because they've been drinking Coke all day long. So that would be like excess physical energy. Excess internal energy might be them getting bullied or having things on their mind from home or thinking that they're not good enough for class. And so let's say that's a kid in their classroom, but we're obviously in the classroom of life. And even why I think of why we're so open at Wanderlust is because we do have the movement of mind and body, but then when we go home, we might go to the yoga class, but the movement of mind isn't happening at the same rate. So the way I teach kind of the Nalini Kids program is this idea of a toolbox. So every kid becomes a mechanic, and the idea is that you wouldn't use a hammer to screw in a nail, so you need different tools for different things that come up in life. And so here I'm just briefly going to go over 4 tools that I like. I could talk about this all day long, but so one of them is an emotional scale. So we rate ourselves every day, 1 to 10, simple enough, a heavy scale. And so you start to determine what your emotional weight, where it is and where it's healthy and where things can trigger it. We also do a 1-word workout where instead of doing a push-up, it's called strength now. So the idea is that you're doing a physical move and it's associated to an emotional feeling. Another tool would be a personal warrior shield. That's when we talk about happiness in kind of a logical, tangible way. The idea that the characteristics that you take with you anywhere you go. So I might be able to take away your necklace or your yoga mat, but I can't take away your ability to make friends. So that's your personal warrior shield. Another tool we use is the road to success or failure. The idea that on any road, you're going to have a stoplight, a green light, a caution light, and that's kind of inherent on any journey to a goal. And then the last tool I'll talk about is the beams of gratitude. The idea that when you start to think about things you're thankful for and really delve into it, the web just gets larger and larger. So my favorite example is this one kid talks about basketball, and he just did, I love basketball, and he listed all his favorite players, but then we had to go deeper. Then he started loving, like, well, maybe it's the history of basketball, because I love that I even can see a basketball, and I love that my mom can drop me off, and that I have a jersey. So he starts to see basketball in a bigger, more empathetic way and connected to the world. So I guess what I want to go over today as it applies to us is 3 tools that I've pulled from kind of the Nalini Kids program that I think could really apply to our lives, that are practical and could help us think about emotional weight. One is this idea of being your own teacher. That kind of covers the mind-body connection. The second is connecting to your 1 word, which covers the heart connection. And the third is living your 1 word, which will cover the world connection. So the first one, be your own teacher. So like I said before, in the schools, I teach an emotional workout and a physical workout. The emotional workout revolves around this book that I've written, Connect to Your 1. And there's 7 lessons in this book, 3 from my dad, 3 from my mom, and 1 that I feel like would be my life lesson. And the reasoning behind that is the idea that the people who share the most amount of words with you, outside of yourself, talking to yourself all day, are probably your parents or your guardians. So it's worth an evaluation to kind of interpret the words that you've been exposed to and how they've impacted your life lessons. So the best way, let me just hop into an example. One of the lessons in the book is from my dad, and it's no one can take away your happiness. Very easily said in this context, in this setting, but that was not an easy lesson growing up. Like, I come home from a fight or someone picked on me at school, and my dad would be like, no one can take away your happiness. I'm like, no, the person is down the street, we should go beat them up. They took away all my happiness. And so that was really hard growing up with that kind of mentality. So I kind of share that story with the kids. They read about it, but the first thing we do is go over the dictionary definition, like we did earlier. A state of contentment, a pleasurable or satisfying experience. Then we go over my dad's definition, his interpretation, which is a timeless state of contentment due to embracing the control you have over your state of mind. That's his definition. And this is not for them or you to agree with or not agree with. It's just the idea that it's up for interpretation. So then then they come up with their own interpretation. And as it goes, like over time, I see the kids, and I've even seen myself now that I just look at words all the time, you just start to build and be empowered by your own dictionary. And you start to look at your life lessons in a different way. So I think it's taking that extra moment to look up a definition and seeing your own like that actual literal exercise that makes a difference. One of my favorite quotes is by Galileo. It's like that you can't teach anyone anything, but you can only help them discover it within themselves. And I think this kind of tool can help you do that. And so over time, using the weight of words, they develop their own dictionary. They start to develop their own toolbox and their own life lessons, which kind of brings me to this next slide where over time they've built that mind-body connection, which ultimately to me is being your own teacher. That to me is your ultimate mind-body connection. I used to think of mind-body connection like, oh, if I want to move my right arm moves, and my mind and body are connected. Or if my mind's positive, my body will be positive. But in teaching this program over the past 5 years and teaching for 15 years now, it's become really apparent to me that the more you can become your own teacher, the more you can regulate your emotional weight. I think that's the ultimate mind-body connection. And so that's what's kind of given me the inspiration for this second book that I have coming out in January, which is 7 Moods, 7 Workouts. So it's kind of self-explanatory, but there's the anger workout, the energy workout, chill, stress, happiness, doubt, anxiety. And the idea of this is that there should be an emotional workout and a physical component with each of them. So the anger workout, for example, you would do a workout that gets their extra adrenaline out. But hopefully the mantra of the story makes you think about the emotional workout you should do. So maybe it's picking up the phone, calling your sister, and owning up to the words you said to her in a fight, and giving that equal importance to your physical manifestation of that emotion. So you become your own teacher, you're owning your moods more and more, and you're kind of juggling that around, and then I think you can bring your heart into the picture, because I personally feel like it's very hard to make the jump to what do I want my life to mean? What am I passionate about if the mind and body are not truly connected? And I think that jump is made really quick sometimes. And I think taking that step, that mind-body step first, then you're in the mood to delve deeper and answer your own questions, which brings me to what's your one word? So my one word, if you haven't gotten it already, is connect. And I guess the best way to describe it is if we weren't all here with our names and we were all like a bunch of light bulbs, like our spirits just lying around here, my name on my light bulb would be connect. It's the word that makes me feel is the representation of my heart's essence. It's my focal point, my moral compass. And I think there are a lot of words that I think I probably live by, but this one can manifest in all the different directions for me. You know, like my dad's one word is happiness, my mom's one word is balance. I would love if people felt like I was the most balanced person in the world, but that's not my essence of my energy. And if happiness was it, I'd be happy too. But even if I'm sad all day, as long as I'm connected to why I'm sad, I'm good. And so it's really kind of interpreting the word and how it feels for you and testing it out. I think for some people, their words come easily, and some people you have to try it out. But I do believe everyone does have one word. And I think the other thing that you have to think about is that it comes so naturally for kids. When I ask them, it's just like they jump to it. But adults, we think about what's right, what's wrong. And so to be patient with it. And one of the tools that could help you do that is thinking of one word as one piece of food. So there's probably foods that nourish you, foods that you indulge in, foods that jumpstart a healthy lifestyle, and there's words that could do that as well. I'm sure there's a word out there that when you hear just makes you feel whole and at home. And one of the tools I use at Nolini Kids that we're going to go into deeper today is the emotional compass. And I think this can really help you find your one word. So north, up are words that lift you up. Forward, words that make you go forward. East, words that bring you down. Words that kind of make you reflect on the past. So I'm going to give you an example of one of the kids. Her name's Destiny. Give you a visual. Destiny always had like 2 pigtails here, all sorts of scrunchies going on. Just a cool kid. And her story to her one word really was impactful for me. So she told me words that lift her up were thinking about being a yoga teacher and being active. But she wasn't exposed to yoga. She'd never done yoga, but she loved yoga. And she thought it was such a sign that Nalini Kids came to her school. And so those were things that lifted her up. The idea of a yoga mat, peace, space. Things that made her go forward, or the idea of being active. She always felt like time was of the essence, and that she always wanted to run and do and get out of class and be active active. Things that brought her down and made her reflect back. Her mother had passed away a year before from lung cancer. And she was just really conscious of not being able to breathe, the noises of the tobacco commercials. And so all her words and all her stories orbited around that. And so all we do is talk about finding that common theme, that common element, that strand that maybe brings all these ideas together. And for her, her one word was breathe. And I think on a subconscious level, she always, like when she entered a room, you could tell she would always take a moment. But now that she knew her one word was breathe, she made it a more active moment. And it was just hearing her story that really gave me an inspiration to make the tool kind of more accessible. That's why I want to share that tool today. And I guess I want to take a moment now where you guys, like I stopped talking for a second, and you guys just kind of maybe think about what your one word would be. Maybe something that you could try on at Wanderlust, that you could bring to the yoga class, that you could bring in every single conversation. Like I feel like connect makes me connected to my friend. I want to delve deeper when I talk to people. It's something that drives me. But yours might be happiness. Yours might be breathe. But maybe just take a moment. I'll be silent. But anyone have questions before I take a moment about this little exercise? Okay, cool. I'll let you guys do. But there's a sheet in front of you, and maybe jot down what you think your one word might be. It's like if your heart had a name. Okay, I'll come back in a second, but I know that was probably a short amount of time, but I just wanted you at least in the moment to think of it, but we'll have more time later. But so now I've gone over kind of that mind-body connection leading to hopefully you've lost the weight of words so you're able to see your words more clearly, and then maybe that heart connection will be kind of just come to you with a lot of clarity. And that leads me to the last part, which is the world connection, and that's living your one word. So me living my one word, connecting, like it's very important to me to stay in touch with my friends and family. Connect the way it manifests at work is that I've chosen teaching, and I'm forced to connect my mind and body on a daily basis. And the way I would say is the ultimate connection for me is I feel like I've been given two gifts. One is great parents. I've realized, especially through teaching Nalini Kids, not everyone is blessed with supportive parents. So I got that, and I got the gift of teaching. I'm able to use my voice, and I was able to have students in my class. So these are two gifts that I did not work for that were given to me. And me connecting to those two is Nolini Kids. So that's the ultimate manifestation of my one word. And I met someone a year ago whose one word was connect, and the manifestation for her was creating a dating website. I mean, not something that would interest me, but that was her manifestation. It was networking. It was building apps and technology. So kind of really owning and embracing that how your one word manifests is your stamp. And so I'm going to offer 3 quick stories right now. I see myself in all these 3 stories, and I hope you can kind of see yourself in them too. One is this kid, Jamal. 13 years old, a gentle giant, like huge, much taller than me, but everyone's much taller than me, but really much taller. And his one word was good. And the way he was going to manifest it at school is that he was going to make a promise that he was always going to be respectful to all his teachers. And he was. He always, like, whenever I taught, he'd always bring me water. I mean, it was just very sweet. And the way it was going to manifest at home for him was that he was always going to be honest with his parents. And the way it was going to manifest in the future for him is that he was just going to be a good family man. It was just very important for him. He had learning disabilities, and his father was always present in helping him. The second story is a kid named Marcus, again, 13 years old, grew up in a very, very poor family. I think over the course of the year, I saw maybe a handful of outfits he wore, just very limited clothing, always got picked on at school. And he really struggled with his one word. He thought it was humor, but then he decided humor was a vehicle to be accepted. So he ultimately landed on acceptance being his one word. And he said that the way it was going to manifest at school is that he was just going to brush his shoulders off on people who kind of picked on him and accept that he had limited clothing. He was the eldest of 9 siblings, and that's just the way it was. The way it was going to manifest at home is he was the only one out of all his siblings who talked to his father who was in jail, and he was really proud of that and set the stage as a role model in his family, he felt like he put out an olive branch, and that was him manifesting acceptance. And the way it was going to manifest in the future is that he wanted to be a lawyer or a social worker that helped bring families together. And then the last student I'm going to tell you about is Lawrence. Lawrence is one of those kids that if you met me on a Monday and I talked about him, you'd be like, I don't know what to do with myself. And on Tuesday, I was in love with the kid. So it was a very up and down relationship. A little disruptive, did not like writing. So we concluded that he could do all the homework assignments in an artsy way or creative way. And he told me his one word was art. And I was a little resistant to that at first because I was like, I really kind of like an action around it or a verb. So is it the art means that, is that how you show love? Are you trying to be unique? Like, what's the drive behind the art? He's like, nope, I am art. And I'm like, okay. I could only argue so much. And I'm like, okay, I got to accept this. There's got to be a lesson in here somewhere. And it really all came together for me on the last assignment is you have to write a say thank you card to someone. And he chose to write a say thank you card. And I brought it here today. This was his say thank you card. He made an origami lotus. And he looked me dead in the eye and said, can you please give this to your mom and say thank you for having you? And I was like, I wanted to I'm going to die on the floor right now. I'm so touched. Anyways, in that moment, I'd been teaching the one-word concept, but that really left such a huge impact on me. One, it was like my word to the essence. Like he was connecting me to my own mom. He was connecting to the program, and he was showing me the program in a different, more artsy way. And also, it really clicked for me when I realized that he is art. Like I didn't know how to interpret that. Is that his way of showing love to me, or is he like, hey, look what I can do with origami? I have no idea. Just like I would feel that way about any art on the wall. And so that kind of leads me to the summary here, is that I hope from this presentation that maybe you just kind of have this new lens that you could look through and to kind of think about the people you experience in your life and you experiencing yourself through an emotional weight lens and a physical lens, because I think that will make you get more connected on a practical level to a heart lens. And with that heart lens, I think that we could all together lose the weight of the world. I really feel like that maybe is a little ideal, but it's possible. If we can start to lose emotional weight, then the weight of the world would decrease and we can start to reshape the world in the way we'd like. So thank you very much for listening to me, and I am excited to hear your one words and be a student of your one word. So that's it. Thank you.